Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Mono Invest, the channel where we break down life-changing money books and turn them into real strategies you can use today. I'm so glad you're here because today's video is one I've been genuinely excited to make for a very long time. Let me ask you something right now. You probably know someone, a neighbor, a coworker, maybe a family member who drives a brand new luxury car, wears designer clothes, eats out every weekend, and always seems to be living the high life. And you think to yourself, wow, that person must be rich, right? Here's the twist. They're probably not. And the real millionaire? The real millionaire is probably the quiet guy down the street who drives a used Toyota, packs his own lunch, and hasn't mentioned his stock portfolio to anyone, ever. That is the central truth of today's book, The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you are going to look at wealth completely differently. Let's go. But before we dive in, I want to give you a quick heads up about our next video because I think it might be even more important for your financial future. We are covering a powerful finance book called Ignore Market Predictions. And if you have ever stressed out watching news channels tell you the market is about to crash, or felt confused when experts gave completely opposite advice on the same day, this next video is made for you. Ignore Market Predictions basically destroys the idea that anyone, and I mean anyone, can consistently tell you what the stock market will do next. No Wall Street analyst, no financial news anchor, no fancy algorithm. The book gives you a framework to tune out all that noise and focus on what actually builds long-term wealth. It is genuinely a game changer, and I cannot wait to break it down for you. So make sure you are subscribed to Mono Invest right now. Tap that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and you will not miss that video when it drops. And while you're at it, if you are finding value in this channel, please hit that like button. It literally takes 1 second, and it helps this channel grow so I can keep making free content like this for you. Drop a comment below telling me, have you ever judged someone as not rich based on how they look? I want to hear your story. All right, let's get into today's book. Let me paint a picture for you. It's a Saturday afternoon. You're driving through a nice neighborhood and you see a massive house, 5 bedrooms, 3-car garage, beautiful landscaping, a luxury SUV is parked out front. The family inside looks like they've made it. Now tell me, what do you assume about their finances? Most of us would assume they're wealthy. And that assumption right there is the biggest financial lie most of us have believed since childhood. Thomas Stanley and William Danko spent over 20 years researching and interviewing actual millionaires across the United States, not people who looked rich, people who were rich, people with a net worth of $1 million or more. And what they found absolutely shocked the researchers, and it will shock you too. The vast majority of American millionaires do not live in fancy neighborhoods. They do not drive luxury cars. They do not wear Rolex watches or carry Louis Vuitton bags. Most of them live in middle-class neighborhoods. They drive ordinary cars. They shop at regular stores. They are quite literally the millionaire next door. So the real question becomes, how did they get there? And why are so many people who look wealthy actually broke? That is exactly what this book answers, and it does so with hard data, not motivational fluff, not vague advice, but actual research, surveys of thousands of millionaires, interviews, net worth calculations. This is financial science, not speculation. Here's one of the most important things I want you to understand today. Income and wealth are not the same thing. They're completely different concepts. Income is how much money flows into you each year. Salary, bonuses, side hustle revenue, that's income. Wealth, also called net worth, is the total value of everything you own minus everything you owe. Assets minus liabilities. You can have a $300,000 salary and zero net worth. In fact, that is more common than you think. The book calls these people under-accumulators of wealth, or UAWs. They earn a lot, spend everything, invest nothing, and carry massive debt. They look rich, but they are financially fragile. One job loss and the whole thing collapses. On the other hand, you can have a $60,000 salary and a net worth of $2 million. These are the prodigious accumulators of wealth. Pause. They earn moderately, spend carefully, invest aggressively, and let compound interest do the heavy lifting over decades. The solution to this problem is simple, but not easy. Stop trying to look wealthy. Start trying to be wealthy. The entire premise of this book rests on that one fundamental shift in mindset. Now here's something the book covers that I don't hear talked about enough. Your zip code might literally be costing you your financial future. Think about it this way. If you move into a high-income neighborhood, what happens? You get neighbors with expensive cars, you get pressure to renovate your house, your kids go to school with kids who wear designer clothes, you start eating out at more expensive restaurants because that's just where everyone goes, you spend more because the social environment demands more spending. Stanley and Danko call this hyper-consumption, and they found it to be one of the biggest wealth killers among high-income earners. These are people making fantastic money, but they chose to live in environments that push them to spend everything they make, and sometimes more than that. Meanwhile, the millionaires they studied tended to live in middle-class or upper-middle-class neighborhoods, not the wealthiest zip codes. Why? Because in a modest neighborhood, there's no pressure to keep up with extravagant spending. You can drive a $22,000 used car and nobody bats an eye. You can bring your lunch to work and it's completely normal. The social environment removes the pressure to perform wealth, and that means more money stays invested. Now, I want to be really practical here. I'm not saying you need to live in a bad neighborhood. I'm saying be intentional about the environment you put yourself in. If every single one of your friends is spending money they don't have on things they don't need, it will influence you, whether you realize it or not. That's just human psychology. Here's what the millionaires actually did. They bought homes in neighborhoods where the average house was less than they could afford. Not the max, less. This gave them breathing room financially and removed social pressure. They also built friendships with people who had similar financial values, people who didn't judge you for being frugal, people who actually respected saving and investing. Think about your own life right now. Are the people around you pushing you toward bigger spending? Are you keeping up with someone else's lifestyle? If the answer is yes, it might be time to recalibrate either your social circle or at least your awareness of how they're influencing your money decisions. I want to spend some real time here because I think this is where so many people, especially young people, make a huge financial mistake that takes years to recover from. Cars. Let's talk about cars. According to the research in the Millionaire Next Door, the single most popular car among American millionaires was not a BMW, not a Mercedes, not a Tesla. It was a used Ford F-150, a pickup truck, a practical vehicle. Let that sink in. The average American millionaire, someone with over $1 million in net worth, drives a used, practical vehicle, not a status symbol. And the average middle-class person is financing a $45,000 SUV they can barely afford, paying $700 a month for 6 years at 6% interest. Do you know how much that actually costs when you add it all up? You're paying over $50,000 for a car that will be worth $15,000 by the time it's paid off. And the moment you drove it off the lot, it lost 15% of its value. This is called depreciating asset addiction. You are borrowing money at interest to buy something that loses value every day. And then you're paying insurance, maintenance, taxes on top of that. Financially, a new luxury car financed on credit is one of the worst decisions you can make, full stop. Let me give you actual numbers here because I think numbers are where this gets real. Let's say you're 28 years old and you're deciding between two cars. Option A, a brand new $45,000 car with a $700 payment for 6 years. Option B, a reliable used car for $12,000 bought with cash.
With option B, you free up that $700 per month. If you invest that $700 every month into an index fund earning 8% average annual return, which is conservative by historical standards, here is what happens over 30 years. You end up with approximately $1,050,000. $1 million from just the difference in car choice. One car decision, 30 years, $1 million. That is the power of redirecting money from depreciation to appreciation. So what do actual millionaires do? Here's what the book found. Most buy used cars, typically 2 to 4 years old, letting someone else absorb the biggest depreciation hit. Many drive the same car for 7 to 10 years or more. They prioritize reliability and practicality over status. When they do buy new, they often pay cash, no financing, no interest. They negotiate hard and are not embarrassed to do so. The wealthiest people in Stanley and Danko's study did not care what their car said about them. They cared about what their investment portfolio said about them. And that's the mindset shift we all need. Here's another major finding from the book that I think is incredibly relevant in today's world. One of the strongest predictors of becoming a millionaire is self-employment or business ownership. Now, I want to be careful here because I'm not telling you to quit your job tomorrow and start a business with no plan. That would be irresponsible advice. But the data in this book is undeniable, and I want to explain why self-employment tends to build more wealth. First, business owners control their own income ceiling. A salaried employee has a cap. You can get raises, maybe a promotion, but there's a ceiling. A business owner who finds a growing market has no ceiling. Revenue can scale. Second, business owners have access to tax advantages that employees simply don't. Legitimate business deductions, retirement accounts with higher contribution limits, the ability to write off certain expenses, these all reduce taxable income and allow more money to be invested and compounded. Third, and this is subtle but important, business owners tend to develop a different relationship with money. When you see firsthand how hard money is to earn, you become more thoughtful about spending it. Many of the millionaires Stanley and Danko interviewed were frugal partly because they had built businesses and understood the true cost of income. Now, if you're an employee and plan to stay one, here's how to apply this insight. The key lesson isn't start a business or fail. The key lesson is create multiple income streams. The millionaires in this book weren't always business owners from day one. Many started with a job, saved aggressively, invested wisely, and eventually accumulated enough capital to take entrepreneurial risk or simply reached wealth through consistent investing. The book is full of plumbers, accountants, teachers, and engineers who became millionaires on modest salaries because they lived below their means and invested the difference every single month. So, if you're an employee, your strategy is maximize your income potential in your career, minimize your lifestyle inflation, and invest early and often. Treat your investment portfolio like a business because it is. It's a wealth-generating machine that works for you while you sleep. This is one of the most fascinating and also slightly uncomfortable sections of the book, and I think it's important enough that I want to dedicate serious time to it. Stanley and Danko found that having a frugal, financially aligned spouse or life partner is one of the most significant factors in wealth building. Not income, not education, not even investment returns. The alignment between partners on financial values. Why? Because marriage is a financial merger. When two people share a household, they share income, expenses, debt, and investment decisions. If one partner is a disciplined saver and investor, but the other is an impulsive spender, those two forces cancel each other out. The spender undoes what the saver builds, and this leads to constant conflict, financial stress, and often debt. The millionaires in this study overwhelmingly describe their spouses as even more frugal than themselves. Many describe their partners as the primary financial manager of the household, budgeting, tracking expenses, making sure money got invested. This was not seen as a chore. It was seen as a shared value and a team effort. Think about two couples. Couple A, both work, combined income of $140,000, but one partner insists on expensive vacations every year, a new car every 3 years, and weekly dinners at nice restaurants. The other partner wants to save, but gives in to avoid conflict. They save maybe 5% of their income. After 20 years, they have some home equity and a small retirement account. Couple B, combined income of $110,000. Both partners are aligned on financial goals. They take one vacation a year, but plan it carefully and get good deals. They drive reliable used cars. They cook at home most nights. They save 25% of their income consistently. After 20 years, they are millionaires, comfortably. The difference isn't income, it's alignment, it's values, it's the team component of personal finance. Here is practical advice from the research. Before you commit to a long-term partner, or if you're already in one, you need to have explicit conversations about financial values. Not just, are you good with money, but what does your ideal lifestyle look like in 10 years? How do you feel about debt? What percentage of income should we save? How do you make big purchase decisions? What does financial security mean to you? These conversations are not unromantic, they are deeply responsible. Financial stress is one of the leading causes of divorce and relationship breakdown. Aligning on money is one of the most loving things you can do for a long-term partnership. This section hit differently for me, and I think for a lot of South Asian families, for a lot of immigrant families, for a lot of families with strong cultural ties, this chapter is incredibly important to understand. Stanley and Danko coined the term economic outpatient care to describe the practice of financially subsidizing adult children, paying their rent, buying their cars, covering their vacations, giving large cash gifts, helping them buy houses they can't afford on their own income. And here's the heartbreaking finding. The more financial support parents gave to adult children, the less wealth those children accumulated on their own. The data was clear and consistent. Economic outpatient care creates financial dependency, reduces motivation to earn, and ultimately leaves children less prepared for financial independence. But here's the other side of this equation that parents often miss. It also drains their parents' own wealth. Think about how many parents in their 60s are still financially supporting children in their 30s and 40s. That money, if invested for even 10 years, could have funded a comfortable retirement. Instead, it's being consumed supporting a lifestyle their children haven't earned yet. The book explains this beautifully. When someone has always had a financial safety net, when they know mom and dad will bail them out, the psychological pressure to succeed is reduced. The urgency to build skills, take calculated risks, and live within means disappears. Why sacrifice now when rescue is just a phone call away? This isn't cruelty. This is just human psychology. We rise to meet necessity. When necessity is removed by external subsidy, we often plateau at the level of comfort that subsidy provides. The millionaires in this study who had wealthy parents tended to receive less financial support than average, not more. Their parents taught them financial discipline, forced them to work, and gave them values rather than cash. That investment in financial education paid off enormously. This doesn't mean never help your kids. It means help them strategically. Here's what the wealthy parents in this research actually did. Budgeting, saving, and investing from a young age made children earn money for discretionary purchases rather than simply giving it. Helped with education, the investment with the highest return. May have provided a one-time down payment on a house, but only after the child demonstrated financial discipline. Did not regularly subsidize lifestyle expenses. The goal of good parenting in financial terms isn't to make your children comfortable, it's to make your children capable. capable of earning, saving, and building their own wealth. That's the legacy that actually matters. One of the most actionable things in this entire book is a simple formula you can use to figure out whether you're accumulating wealth at the rate you should be. I love this because it gives you a clear benchmark, not a vague idea, but actual math. Here it is. According to Stanley and Danko, your expected net worth should be calculated like this: age times income divided by 10. So, let's do some examples. If you are 35 years old and earn $80,000 a year, your expected net worth is 35 times 80,000 divided by 10, equals $280,000. If you are 45 years old and earn $100,000, your expected net worth should be 45 times 100,000 divided by 10, equals $450,000. Now here's how the book categorizes you. If your actual net worth is twice the expected amount, you are a PAW, a prodigious accumulation of wealth. You are crushing it. If your actual net worth is half the expected amount or less, you are a UAW, an under-accumulation of wealth. You need to make serious changes. If you are somewhere in between, you are an AAW, an average accumulation of wealth. You're doing okay, but there's room to improve. I want you to pause this video right now if you need to and actually calculate your number. Pull out your phone, do the math, and be honest with yourself, because the first step to fixing a problem is knowing how big it actually is. Based on the research, most middle and upper middle income earners in America fail the wealth accumulation test, especially between ages 35 and 50. Why? Because this is the life stage where spending pressure peaks. Kids in school, mortgage to pay, career status to maintain, aging parents to sometimes help, vacations to take. Life is expensive, and income is being consumed almost as fast as it comes in. The book's answer to this is not revolutionary, but it is non-negotiable. You must automate saving and investing before you allow yourself to spend. Not after, before. This is what Stanley and Danko call paying yourself first. It's been repeated 1,000 times in personal finance, but very few people actually do it with discipline. Set up an automatic transfer to your investment account on the same day your paycheck arrives, every month, without exception. Not what's left over, a fixed percentage agreed upon in advance. The book recommends saving at minimum 15% of pre-tax income to be on track. High achievers save 20 to 30%. I want to get into the mindset side of this now, because I think it's the deepest root of why most people don't build wealth, and changing your mindset is ultimately what produces lasting change. Our culture, especially in America, but increasingly globally, has linked spending with success. Think about every advertisement you've ever seen. They're not selling products, they're selling identity. Wear this and you're sophisticated. Drive this and you're powerful. Eat here and you've arrived. The message is constant and relentless. Spending money is how you signal that you've made it. But here's what the millionaires in this study actually believed, and I'm paraphrasing the findings here. Financial independence is more important than displaying high social status. They would rather have the freedom that comes from a large investment portfolio than the fleeting approval that comes from expensive possessions. This is a profound values difference. And it's not that millionaires are joyless or don't enjoy life. They absolutely do. But their pleasures tend to come from experiences, relationships, meaningful work, and financial peace of mind, not from things. One of the most interesting findings in the book is that nearly all millionaires surveyed had a detailed household budget, not a rough estimate, a detailed, written, tracked budget. They knew exactly how much came in, how much went out, and where every category of spending stood. For many people, budgeting feels like a constraint, like financial prison. But the millionaires in this book saw their budget completely differently, as a map to freedom. Knowing exactly where your money goes means you can deliberately redirect it toward what matters most to you. A budget isn't about saying no to everything fun. It's about saying yes to the right things and aggressively cutting the things that don't align with your values. Here's how the millionaires structured their financial lives, broken down practically. They tracked every major expense category monthly: housing, food, transport, clothing, entertainment, investments. Housing costs were typically 20 to 28% of income, not the 30 to 40% many financial advisors allow. They were extremely price conscious on everyday purchases, clipping coupons, buying in bulk, negotiating prices. They spent disproportionately on things that grow wealth or produce income: education, business development, real estate. They spent very little on things that simply consume money: fashion, luxury food, status electronics. The pattern is: be cheap on things that don't matter. Be generous with things that build your future. Cheap on the car, generous on the investment account. Cheap on the clothes, generous on skills development. Cheap on the restaurant, generous on health. I want to end the main content sections of this video with the most powerful concept in all of financial freedom. And it is not a technique, it is not a strategy, it is a force. It is time, and specifically how time interacts with compound interest. Albert Einstein, whether or not he actually said this, is often quoted as calling compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. And the reason it deserves that title is because of what it does over long stretches of time. It turns small, consistent contributions into enormous wealth, completely automatically. Here's the real-world problem. Most people wait. They tell themselves they'll start investing when they have more money, when the debt is paid off, when the kids are older, when things settle down. And those delays cost an absolutely staggering amount of money. Let me tell you about two investors. Call them Priya and Raj. Priya starts investing at age 22. She puts in $400 a month into an index fund. At age 32, she stops adding new money. She just lets it grow. She invested for 10 years and then left it alone for 33 more years. Raj starts investing at age 32. He puts in $400 and keeps going every month until he's 65. He invested for 33 years consistently. At 65, assuming 8% average annual return, who has more money? Priya has approximately $1.4 million. Raj has approximately $875,000. Priya wins by more than $500,000, despite investing for less than a third of the time, because she started 10 years earlier. 10 years, $1.5 million difference. That is the power of time in wealth building. The millionaires in Stanley and Danko's research weren't just patient, they were intentionally patient. They understood that wealth building is a slow, boring process. It doesn't happen in months, it happens in decades. And that's a feature, not a bug. They also understood that every year of delay has an exponential cost, not just a linear one. Waiting one more year doesn't cost you 1 year of returns. It costs you all the compounding that would have happened on top of those returns for the next 30 years. Every year you delay is buying yourself a smaller financial future. So, if you take nothing else from this video, take this: start today. Not when you're ready, not when the market is right, not when you have more money. Today. Even small amounts, even $50 a month. Get started. Let time work. That is the single most high-leverage financial decision you can make right now. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground today. Let me bring it all together into a practical action plan, because information without action is just entertainment, and I don't want this to just be entertaining. I want it to change your financial life. Action step 1. Calculate your wealth gap right now. Use the formula we talked about. Age times income divided by 10 equals expected net worth. Then calculate your actual net worth. Be honest. The gap between those two numbers is your starting point. Know it. Name it. Work from it. Action step 2. Audit your car situation. If you're financing an expensive car, calculate the total cost, monthly payment times remaining months, plus interest already paid. Now ask yourself, what would that money be worth in 20 years if invested instead? that number might be the most motivating thing you've ever seen. Action step 3, evaluate your social environment. Think about your 5 closest friends or colleagues. What are their financial habits? Are they pulling you toward wealth or toward consumption? You don't have to cut anyone out, but be aware of influence and make conscious choices. Action step 4, automate your investing this week. This week, not someday, this week. Set up an automatic monthly transfer to an investment account, even if it's small. The habit is more important than the amount at first. Build the habit, then increase the amount over time. Action step 5, have the money conversation with your partner. If you're in a relationship, schedule an honest conversation about financial goals and values. Use the questions I mentioned earlier. This doesn't have to be a serious confrontation. Approach it with curiosity and teamwork. It could be the most important financial conversation you ever have. And action step 6, read this book. I mean it. Everything I've shared today is a summary, but the book goes into so much more depth with real examples, real data, and real people. The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley and William Danko. It is genuinely one of the most evidence-based personal finance books ever written. And that, my friends, is The Millionaire Next Door. What a book. What a collection of research. And honestly, what a wake-up call. Let me leave you with the single most important sentence I could possibly share from this entire book. It comes down to this. Wealth is not about what you earn. It is not about what you spend. It is not about how you look or where you live or what you drive. Wealth is about what you keep, what you invest, and how long you let it grow. The Millionaire Next Door doesn't look rich. That's the whole point. They chose financial freedom over financial performance. They chose peace of mind over peer approval. They chose a life they could actually afford. And in doing so, they built a life that is genuinely, deeply, lastingly wealthy. And you can do the same. With the right mindset, the right habits, and the right patience, you can be the millionaire next door, starting today. Now, before you go, I want to remind you about our next video. We are diving deep into Ignore Market Predictions. This is one of the most liberating finance books I have ever read because it gives you hard evidence and clear reasoning for why you should completely ignore all the noise about where the stock market is headed. You know those people on TV who say the market is going to crash this year, or we're heading into a recession, or now is the best time to buy? This book systematically destroys every single one of those predictions and shows you that the people making them have a track record that is genuinely worse than random chance. It also gives you a bulletproof alternative strategy, one that doesn't require you to predict anything, one that is boring, simple, and historically incredibly effective. That video is coming very soon, and I genuinely think it is going to be one of the most important finance videos on this channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that right now. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. You will be the first to know when that video is live. If this video gave you even one new idea, one shift in perspective, one action step you're going to take, then please hit the like button. Seriously, it takes 1 second, and it tells YouTube that this kind of content is worth sharing with more people. And the more people this channel reaches, the more I can invest into making these videos even better for you. And finally, drop a comment. Tell me, which part of the Millionaire Next Door hit hardest for you? Was it the car section, the neighborhood trap, the partner alignment concept, the compound interest example? Tell me what clicked. I genuinely read every comment, and I love hearing from this community. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I'm genuinely grateful for every single person watching Mano Invest. You are building a better financial future by showing up and learning. That matters. That is the first step. Take care of yourselves, make good decisions, and I will see you in the next one.